So, why is dynamic instruction so important? I'm going to tell you why right now. You have so many students in your classroom. And here's just to name a few diversities, because 9 times out of 10, your class is going to be super diverse with multiple diversities. I can just see it right now. Economically disadvantaged students, IEPs, 504s, other health impairment students who are going to be out very often. You have your students not meeting those state standards for their grade level just yet. You have those students that are well above their grade level state standards. You have behavioral students. You have ELL students. In just a span of a few seconds, I named 8 different diversities in your classroom, or that could be in your classroom. So I want you to think about it for a moment. Flatline lesson. You just have your flat lesson. Does that accommodate all of this? Or does it just cover the basics? Think about that for a moment. Okay, enough thinking for that for a moment. I'm going to tell you right now. Having a flatline lesson with no accommodations, supports, or challenges for your students that expect high achievement and expectations for all students. Yeah, I'm going to tell you this right now. You need to have those barriers removed. Having a lesson that looks like this does not support your student body that looks like this. So you have to think for a moment. Are my lessons dynamic? Am I making sure that those barriers are removed? Because according to our Bill Law over here, Section 21.044 of Educator Preparation, we had to have a competence in the use of proactive instructional planning techniques. And they have to be flexible. Information has to be provided in that instruction. Students have to respond and demonstrate those skills, and the students have to be engaged. But it also states that you have to reduce those barriers and provide appropriate things for those students. And you cannot just leave out those students of the high expectation just because they have disabilities and limited instruction. You have to be their advocate. But that also means that you have to make sure your lessons advocate their needs and their expectations. Now, will those expectations look a little differently for certain kids in your classroom? Yes. But are you still looking for that mastery of the skill? Also, yes. So can you do that if your lesson looks like that? You really can't. So that is why diverse instruction, dynamic instruction is so important. Because you can't advocate for students like this. You have to advocate like that to their needs. And I know that that's a lot for teachers to do. We are the superheroes of the classroom. So let's start giving our kids a hero to be proud of with our dynamic instruction. I mean, what's the big deal? It's just teaching. Let's not make it complicated for us. I mean, we already have so much to do. Let's hear those solutions. I need them because you're right. These things aren't working. I mean, I don't see any growth for my kids that need the growth. The challenge is not there for them. Everything is just, it's this huge mess. Please share some way to help me out. So, I was doing this project. I was like, wow, I've talked to a few different teachers. I'm doing my time doing clinical teaching, and I've noticed a lot of them defaulting to the easier thing. Worksheets, dun dun dun. It's not very fun doing worksheets. I can tell you that as a student and as someone who's done education classes, you don't really learn a lot for worksheets. Now, are they important sometimes? Maybe they do get the kids thinking a little bit. But what I want us to think about is, does it really have to be complicated? Now, you might be thinking, wait, what if I'm a kindergarten teacher? I can't have them do these long, thought out processes. But I want you to think about it. You're the teacher. You know what's best for your students. You know what is age appropriate. Now, does this project have to be some scary essay that they have to write? No, you wouldn't expect your beginning of year or middle of the year kindergartner to be able to do that. But maybe you want your project based learning to focus on writing. Or, you could even do mathematics. I've seen a lot of teachers have the most fun with practicing graphing in a project based approach. So you just have to think about what works best for my kids. Now, does project based learning have to be at every single part of your instruction? No, it doesn't. It's more of a supplement that we should take advantage of because it is effective. Now, it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be long, thought out, and drawn out. It is an activity that does spread over time, but maybe what you can think about is, maybe I want to teach these small skills of how to do this project-based learning over the year. And then at the end of the year, they get this project that they get to do for the class. Especially with older grades. You just have to know what is appropriate for your grade level, what is appropriate for the students' levels, and how you can best implement it. I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is project-based learning doesn't have to be this scary, complicated thing. It can be super fun. It can be super interactive. And I am telling you now, you will see a lot of growth in the students that are able to explore before they are taught. Hi, everyone. I am Olivia Allen. I'm the one who made this presentation. And I wanted to come here and just tell you guys why it's so important to me and why I've made this whole presentation. Trying to tell you guys why this type of curriculum is better suited for the laws that we have in Texas alone. So, hi, guys. I'm about to graduate from a accredited university, a 4-year university with education degree. And I just, this is something that I kind of aligns with my university. And I thought it was interesting that it's not been implemented into the public schools as much. Like, we're starting to go there, but our focus is still drill and teach because of the state testing. Well, when it comes to project-based learning, I think it's important to me because I was a student who was taught in a school where drill and teach was vital to get these skills down for these big tests. I don't actually come from Texas, but I did take quite a few state tests once I did start my education in Texas in middle school. Now, I know that when it comes to memorization, drill and teach is perfectly fine. But is it interesting? Are your students engaged? And I found myself, even in the subjects I love the most, such as history, I was bored out of my mind. I don't want to know the facts verbatim. I want to be able to experience them. I want interaction. I want to be able to get excited over these lessons. And I found myself explicitly struggling with mathematical and science skills for this reason. Now, math, a lot of people think that when you do math, it is just there and you do it and it's whatever your teacher says. But what if I have a different idea? Or what if I want to explore something different with that idea? And I can't because it's just what your teacher says goes. But I don't understand the concepts, right? And when I didn't understand the concepts, I found myself shutting down because there was no way for me to explore that because it's just, you should understand what the teacher's saying. When it comes to project-based learning, it looks different for every subject area. But when it comes to project-based learning, I have found that I have become more interested in my lessons. I have been more engaged. And I've noticed that a lot of my peers start getting more interest in their topics and other people's topics because it's what they want. And now these topics, they truly do cover skills and they challenge students. And they are flexible to every student's needs. Because when it comes to project-based learning, you don't expect the same thing from every student. Now, do you have a rubric? Yes, you have a rubric for what the expectation is for that student. But, and I'm going to say this, but those students' work will look different according to their needs. You don't expect a student who is an English language learner to give you this long felt essay, but you might see them do a presentation or create an art project that encompasses all their research. Well, what about that student that has an IEP? Project-based learning can be built around their IEPs. So I think that's why it's important to me is that project-based learning can be really flexible with student growth. And now, does project-based learning always have to be this long, ever, never ending goal? No, it really doesn't. For some things, you can make it short term. It's still going over a period of time, but maybe your final is more encompassing of using those smaller skills that you were teaching. But overall, I just think it's important to me because it does show student growth. It challenges the students, and we get to see more of how their minds work. And our instruction improves when we see what skills the students can give us. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Okay.